Hello, welcome to my kitchen in Portugal. I am going to be talking today about why I have more credit cards than I can count and still manage to have a over 800 credit score. More than a decade ago, maybe 13 years ago, I became aware of how awesome the credit card perks are for travel branded credit cards out of the States, and that it was a way to maximize our spending in a family that's big. I have 5 kids, and we wanted to travel more. I took an online course about how to use Google Flights to really deep dive into cheap flights, but also how to use credit cards for free travel or reduced expense travel. Since then, we've done a lot of different ones, and some of them we kept. The thing about travel branded credit cards is they are mostly fee-based, so some of them in the past have had as little as like a $60 fee per year, and others have huge fees. I think the biggest we've paid like 600 something, which I know sounds crazy, but usually with the ones that are really expensive like that, you immediately get the value back with the perks that come with the credit card. Today, I thought I would share why we use them and tell you about some of my favorite cards that we have held on to for many years because the value has been worth it to us. The first one that comes to mind is the Marriott branded credit cards. I think I have several of those that I pay a yearly $95 fee on. And the reason that we keep that one open is because pretty much anywhere you go, there's going to be a Marriott branded hotel. So like we've stayed at the JW Marriott, which was very fancy in Beijing. We have stayed in regular Marriott hotels all over the place, or like Marriott branded. So like Spring Hill Suites is one that we've stayed in when we're in the States. So like we go like really bougie sometimes, or totally to the other end of just practical because we're a family of 7. So we've many a time in the States used our free nights and our points that we were accruing from the spending on the card to book hotels like Spring Hill Suites, where it comes with a simple breakfast, several beds, and usually a fold-out couch, things like that. So like for our giant family, that was a really good way to have hotel nights if we needed them. Let me focus on my sushi rice really quickly. Now we're going to move to a different part of the kitchen. Look at my doggies. Rusty is blind, so Isla is always like licking his eyes. It's sort of sweet and sort of sad. Okay, I just really wanted to tell you about this because I'm doing this series on 44 ways I built a life that doesn't break me, and it really started for me with getting into this travel hobby and this points and travel nerdery. I don't know how else to call it, because it opened up the world to me, and I really love travel, and travel really helped me feel alive. So having those options when we didn't think that it was possible for us to leave the US, being able to travel more and travel internationally really was a breath of fresh air to me. And it's just sort of where I started this whole coming home to myself and putting time and effort into things that matter to me, which would have been just travel in the world and seeing new places. So that's why I'm talking about this today. Other hotel branded cards that we have used through the years and still have would be IHG branded cards. So that's like Intercontinental Hotel is the big one. If you're not familiar with this credit card land, and if you're not familiar with hotel chains and loyalty and stuff like that, something that's cool about any of the hotel branded cards is there's not just Marriott hotels within Marriott. There are different branded hotels within Marriott Bonvoy that are much more interesting and much more like creative and bougie, honestly, than the Marriott hotels. So like a JW Marriott obviously will be very, very fancy, but you know, it's not that unique in a lot of ways. It's still a fun bougie experience, but what I really like about having loyalty to both Marriott and to IHG through the years, I also have Hyatt now, which they just changed their structure. So the jury is out on whether I'm going to keep the Hyatt cards. So what's cool about having Marriott or IHG points is you don't just have to use them with Intercontinental hotels or with Marriott. You can use them at their partner hotels. So for instance, one of my favorite hotel groups is called Design Hotels, and they are under Marriott. And they are just like beautiful and unique, and it's like smaller, more interesting hotels to stay at, really. I've stayed at Design Hotels all over the place. You can check out my PDF in the description for my guide on which cards that I've used, and then like it also has pictures of some of the really cool hotels that we've stayed in with our free nights or with our points. Points give you free nights too, but like you usually get like one free night per year with a lot of these cards. So I like Design Hotels. And then with IHG, one of my favorite hotel brands that you can access is Hotel Indigo. And Hotel Indigos are also really fun, very comfortable, but the decor is like way more interesting than you'll find at just like a Marriott or an Intercontinental. So for me as a creative person and as a person who loves travel, using those cards to access Hotel Indigo and Design Hotels, that's some of my favorite uses of the free nights that you get. And so if you think about it, we pay $95 a year for, usually that's a standard fee with the Chase travel cards. And every year we get a free night, but the free night is often worth at least $190. So by keeping the card, even if I don't do a lot of spending on it, it ends up being worth it. Like I get $100 of value and go to a hotel that I wouldn't have otherwise gone to. I still have more. My dogs are like wanting to get out of the kitchen. So that's some of the hotel brands that I do. And I do have a Hyatt card as well. I've not gotten to use that one as extensively, but I can use the points, the Hyatt points, at Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels, which is another fun bougie brand. The yearly free night that I get with Hyatt doesn't allow me to stay at Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels, which is a shame. But when I do my spending on that card and I rack up points, then I'm able to use those at Mr. and Mrs. Smith for a free night. And here in Portugal, there are a lot of small boutique hotels that are under the Mr. and Mrs. Smith brand. And so I've stayed at some really fun places. We don't travel as much as we used to because we live at the beach. We have a big family. Teenagers are expensive, but I live in Portugal. I love living here, and I don't feel the need to travel as much to escape my life as I did before. I still enjoy travel, but using credit cards, travel credit cards, was really a big strategy of mine to survive living in the States, because living in the States felt like being underwater for me. So now that I don't feel like where I'm living, that I'm underwater, you know, I travel around here in Portugal more. Also, part of this is travel credit cards aren't only helpful for like traveling for fun, they're also really helpful because maybe you need to travel to see family. I have a friend whose mom is in hospice right now, and I don't know if she's staying in a hotel, but there's all kinds of reasons that having cards like this is really helpful. A lot of times we've used our free night just really practically for like a hotel near an airport so that we can get up really early and go to the airport in the morning. So while travel for fun is how I got into the points card hobby, and became a complete nerd about it, to be honest, now I keep all these cards because, for one, they keep our credit score good. By having cards open that you pay every month, like that gives you a really good credit score. And so that enables us to get a loan if we need to, or things like that. You know, having a good credit score is really helpful. So anyway, a little bit of a tangent. I'm good at tangents. Okay, so the amount of nerdery that I have around this topic is great. But it's because it opens so many doors for us, and it began our international travel as a family, really realizing that we could buy tickets for as cheap as you could go to the West Coast, and instead you could go to China, and then you could do some really fun things with your points because points go farther. Is there water in there? Your free nights and your points go farther in Asia. You can have some really bougie stays, really elevated, fun stays in different Asian countries with your points. Much more fun than the ones you can access for the same amount of points in Europe, for example. A couple other things I want to say about benefits that often come with these. Travel credit cards, when you use them abroad, you don't get the foreign transaction fee. So I don't know if you've ever gone abroad and seen like that you're getting all these little fees when you use your credit card. And part of that is because there's a foreign transaction fee for using it outside of your home country. And so for us, it's really helpful. We actually still do quite a bit of our spending on our American cards, and we don't get fees for doing that. So if you travel outside the US, having these cards is really, really helpful, not only to prevent fees, but also because they usually have some sort of trip cancellation protection. Many of these cards have travel insurance on them. So like you're going to want to read through the benefits and make sure that you have them and understand them. This is a way to protect yourself when you travel. A lot of them have luggage delay, where if you can show that your luggage didn't show up, or flight delay, if you show that you had to like pay for a hotel because your flight got canceled, things like that. Those coverage things are really helpful for travel benefits. And then something we use all the time because we don't own a car is we rent pretty frequently here. It's actually cheaper in the end on a yearly basis if we rent instead of like buying a car. So we use the credit card car coverage regularly. So I don't pay car insurance, but I get free car insurance on our rental cars, which I mean, you could like literally, if you wanted to, you could rent all the time. You just have to keep it under, I think, 30 days for the coverage to happen. And so like theoretically you could rent for 30 days or whatever, 29 days, and then turn in a car and do a new rental, and you would still have coverage. That's another thing I like about the travel cards. What else? Some of the other cards we have. I just got this one, the British Airways card. I like the British Airways card because of the Avios. Avios is what they call their point system with British Airways, but also there's other partner airlines that all use Avios, and you can switch them from airline to airline. Those are really helpful for us. It's one of the cheapest point ways to get across the ocean. Now the fees are more, this is a whole deep dive nerdery thing. I'll probably do it like a separate thing about the points, trying to explain it. But all of that to say, we got the British Airways card not to fly on British Airways, but to get the Avios and then use them on different partner airlines. So really regularly we use Avios points, which you can earn from the British Airways card, but you can also earn from some of these cards I'm going to tell you about in a minute, which are flexible spending cards. So what I'm going to say is just one of the best ways for us to get across the ocean for the least amount of points is from Dublin to Minneapolis or Dublin to Orlando. Those are places we go fairly frequently because of family stuff. Having points has been very, very helpful for going to see my mom, helping my dad out as he does caretaking. So I covered just generally airlines and hotels overall. But if you're going to start with one card, you're going to want to start with a flexible points card, because when you have a flexible points card, you earn and you can use it in many ways, not just with that hotel group. If I earn points with my IHG card, I can only use those points at IHG hotels or ones in their network. But I cannot use them for an airline ticket, for example. So a flexible travel card would be ones maybe you've heard of, like Chase Sapphire Preferred, Chase Sapphire Reserve, which is very expensive these days. And you would just have to look at the benefits to see if the expense outweighs the cost. So we don't keep the Sapphire Reserve, the most expensive one, anymore. We keep the less expensive one. Blah, blah. We keep the one that's less expensive, which is the Sapphire Preferred. And so that's a flexible travel points card. And you can use those points either to purchase things through their travel, what is the word I'm looking for? Just their travel platform. You can use them there to buy plane tickets or a hotel, or I think you can even do car rentals. So you can use your points just through their travel platform, or you can transfer. And some of the best value that you get for your points is by transferring to airline partners. So like transferring to British Airways, you can do that from Chase Preferred or Reserve. You can also transfer it to hotels. It's not as good of a deal. So I like to save them mostly for airline tickets and using like points flights to save money. So the way to start out this hobby, unless you really specifically want like a hotel card or something like that, would be something like Chase Sapphire Preferred or Capital One. Venture X is what we have, but they just devalued some things too. Oh, I forgot to mention, cards like this also often have lounge access, which is really nice when you're traveling. So anyway, there's really cool perks. And I think honestly, I still recommend people do Chase Sapphire Preferred as their intro card. And I think my PDF has a link to that, which I think will get me some points if you sign up, if the link is active. And I hope that you'll join me tomorrow. If you want to be like me, you could watch me while you cook dinner. I can be your dinner friend. That's what I do with my favorite coach, Glow Atonmo. I watch her a lot while I'm cooking dinner. She's like my dinner friend, so I would be honored if you want to stick me in the kitchen next to you and just listen to all of the ways that I have built a life that makes me feel alive again. See you tomorrow.